Let's see, are we working? There we go. Sorry, I look like a little technical glitch there. Hi, my name is Tanya. Welcome to HMF Live. I am the founder of Hustle to Muscle Fitness and here to do our weekly show talking about different topics on health and fitness and sometimes healthy relationships. So if you are new to Hustle to Muscle Fitness, welcome. I appreciate you being here. If you've been around here for a while, welcome back. And thanks so much for watching, whether you are watching with me live here tonight or checking out the recording later. So just so you guys know a little bit of context, I am a health and fitness coach and have gone through many of my own weight loss struggles and struggles to get healthy. And so now I take my experiences, knowledge, things like that, and I like to teach people. I'm also an educator by profession. So I like to teach people I like to learn and I like to teach. And so this is a very nice marriage of those two worlds. And so tonight, normally the monthly topic on relationships, usually I do that with Gary. And that's the last episode of the month. But this time, it not necessarily has to do with our marriage or anything like that. This has to do with toxic relationships. And the reason why I wanted to focus on sort of another relationship-related topic is because part of health and fitness is having healthy relationships, having positive influencing relationships in your life, and really kind of identifying and cutting out the negative relationships that are really just doing more harm to you, your mental, emotional, and even physical health than by not being in them. So if this is relevant to you, I hope you'll find this helpful. If it's relevant to someone you know, share this video. I would say tag them, but that could be kind of like calling them out. And that may not be a great idea, but you could certainly send it to them maybe in a message or share the link or something like that. So, so let's get to it. First of all, I want to talk about signs that you are in a toxic relationship. And to be perfectly honest, I'll probably pull a little bit of personal experience. And the reason that I decided to do this episode is because I had a couple of different folks in my life recently who have talked about different scenarios of relationships or really just unhealthy relationships that they have or are in or that cause them, anxiety and things like that. And so I just thought, if just two people in my particular world or circle have this, I know that there are probably dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of other people out there that deal with this and may not even know it. So self-awareness is definitely going to be key. So let's get into the signs and then we'll talk about tips. So first things first, there's a long list of identifiers. I'm just going to give you some. And if you want, I would definitely encourage you to kind of do some more research on it. So first of all, the person that you are with, now again, this may not be romantic. This could be family, friends, coworkers, could be the significant other. But basically, whoever that is, that person just sucks the life and the energy right out of you. Like it's all take and no give. They're always taking and taking and taking from you, and they are never, ever, ever giving back. And it just drains you. They're energy vampires. That's the first sign. You are exhausted in all possible ways all the time. You're physically exhausted. You're mentally and emotionally just drained, wiped out. You have no energy left for yourself. You have even no energy left maybe for your kids. Maybe if it's not your immediate family, maybe you don't have any energy left for your family because a friend or another relative or a colleague or somebody is taking that energy from you. There's no trust. You don't trust them on even the smallest things. So how are you going to trust them for the more significant issues? Hostility. There's a lot of hostility in your guys's, in your vibe, anger, constantly fighting or bickering, arguing, and in the really bad cases, it may even get violent. This might be more between significant other relationships, but it could also be between friends and family. There is a constant judging of you, what you do, things aren't good enough or critical or overly critical, not even constructive. Like it's okay to get constructive criticism. It's okay to kind of have somebody call you out on certain things. But when it's all the time and you just feel like you can't ever do anything right or you can't ever do anything to please them, just, that you're constantly going to be judged by them. they're unreliable. This is again kind of like trust, but they're unreliable. Like you just can't depend on them when you need them. You can't depend on them for when it counts. You know, if you need them to, I don't know, watch the kids, if you need them to pay a bill, if you need them to just come and help you out with something, if you need them to help you with a project at work, they're completely unreliable. They are full of negative energy. They are pessimistic. They are constantly just always the Debbie Downers, but like to the extreme, like nothing ever good is right or ever good happens in the world. Nothing is ever good. If somebody else has something good, they're oftentimes jealous and they just bring in all of this negative energy. Communication sucks with them. Like it's probably non-existent. And when you do communicate, you know, it's in the form of the bickering, the fighting, arguing that I mentioned earlier. Or there's just not a communication link at all. And so they just kind of expect you to read their mind to know what's supposed to be happening, or to know how they're feeling, or to know when something bothers them. Or they don't communicate with you or respect you when you communicate things to them, or try to, I should say. Now, I'm going to take a pause for a second here because, you know, I will, like I said, I will pull from some personal experiences. Now, with Gary and I wouldn't necessarily classify us as a toxic relationship, but we have had toxicity in our relationship. Like some of these things, we were definitely headed down that path. We were, I guess, at a point, we were a toxic relationship. Now, the difference is we both identified that. We both decided what is it that we need or want, and is it each other, and agreed that we want to be in this relationship. That means we've got to do work to repair and get rid of the toxicity. And that's this journey really that we've been on now for this past year. And so in a purely toxic relationship, the person or the other half or whatever, they either don't recognize it, or they don't see it, they refuse to see it, or they refuse to work on it, even if they do see it. They just want to manipulate or control you. And so that's kind of the difference. That's why I don't say that we were a toxic relationship, but we definitely had that building up and had some toxic tendencies. So just keep that in mind. We definitely had communication issues. I mean, breakdown was major. Our relationship for a while was full of negative energy. You know, I felt like I couldn't rely on him. He felt I was constantly judging him. And we were just going around in circles in certain ways. So yes, we were becoming too toxic for each other, but luckily I feel like we have, you know, kind of stopped that before it got worse. And now we're working on the removal of that negativity and the repairing of the relationship. Okay. You avoid each other. You just don't want to be around each other. You don't want to be around that person. Or they may not be aware, so they're trying to be around you all the time and you're trying to avoid. Like you just don't even want to deal with conflict. There's a lot of disrespect, and this can go both ways, but if it's the other person who's toxic, a lot of times they're going to be disrespectful. They're going to not care about your feelings. They're not going to care about your wants or your needs. They're not even going to try and make time to become aware of them. Or if your feelings have been hurt or anything like that. Let's see. Lack of support. This is a big one. Again, this goes back to the all take and no give. So you feel like you're probably giving them all the support that they need, emotional, mental, maybe physical, maybe financial, but you're not getting that in return. You might have goals, dreams, ambitions, and they're not supportive. They shoot down all of your ideas. They shoot down all of your ambitions. There just doesn't seem to be any support there for your wants or needs. Control issues. Again, speaking a little bit to our relationship, I know the control issues were major on my end. I'm a self-proclaimed control freak. And so, the control though, like I will say I didn't get to the point of manipulation, because that's the next step, is after you're trying to control, you manipulate them to control them. You make them feel bad. You make them feel like they need you, like you can't live without them. And this is where it starts to borderline into abuse and then domestic violence, if we're talking about romantic relationships or family or friends. But they make you feel like you're worthless. You can't do anything without them. And this is how they manipulate and control you. You know, it might be a financial control, like, well, I'm the one that works, so you can't do anything without me, kind of thing. Or I don't know, maybe you need your car or something, and they're one car and they always have it, or they don't fix it and you can't go anywhere. There's a lot of different ways, but control, major control issues, and manipulation goes right hand in hand with that. And then there's, like I said, there's a lot more, but here, this one is a big, big, big one. Self-betrayal. Now, what do I mean by self-betrayal? Really what this means is that that person has manipulated you or controlled you to the point to where you are now betraying your own morals and sets of standards. You are willing to bend and break things that in the past you would have stood firm on, or standards and expectations that you would have had set at a certain bar. They have now kind of manipulated or forced you into lowering your standards, into bending on your morals and ethics. And this is a betrayal of yourself. And so that's where the control, that's where the toxicity, I mean, it has penetrated all levels. By the time it gets to the point where you are willing to bend your own moral ground, that's a serious sign that you are in a toxic relationship. So, like I said, that's just some of the lists, some of the things I found online. They were like Santa Claus lists of of different signs. So I encourage you, if any of these even rang a bell to something that you might be experiencing right now, please go do even more research and see that there are even more signs out there. Okay, so how can we start or get out, or how can we start to end these toxic relationships? Like, how can we do this to kind of protect ourselves, to distance ourselves? Now, I get that there may be certain instances where it's hard to do that separation, like maybe at work, you just, you might be forced to work with somebody, you can't get away from them. Depending on who it is, hopefully it's not a supervisor, but in the case, if it's not, then that would be a place where you could go to your supervisor to bring up your concerns. If it is your supervisor, maybe there's someone that you can go above them. And if not, then it might be time to look for a new work environment. Plain and simple. I know that it's not easy to change jobs, but it's a lot harder to live in that kind of world day in and day out where you just fucking hate going to work. So just keep that in mind. All right. So first of all, identify if you're in a toxic relationship. Now, some of these, like I said, some of these might be ringing true for you. Maybe all of them did. I would say probably in a toxic relationship. So first of all, self-awareness, as I said before, is key. Identify if you are in a toxic relationship. Number 2, keep a record for yourself. Now, this isn't a record where you can like hold this against the person when you say, well, I've been keeping track and you've done all these things. No, this is for yourself to increase your own self-awareness. It's almost like a journal of the things that have been happening in the relationship with this person. Good, bad, whatever. How you feel, those sorts of things. Number 3, you want to identify the reward of being in this relationship. Now that sounds crazy, right? Because we're talking about a toxic relationship. What possibly could there be in any kind of reward? But there is some kind of reward that you are getting out of this relationship. Otherwise, why would you still be in it? Maybe it's some kind of financial support. Maybe it's you're not alone. It's a fear of being alone. So, you're in this crummy relationship, but that's better than being alone, in your mind. So think about what's the reward that you're getting from it. And is it something that you could get elsewhere? Is it something that you could provide for yourself? If it's a toxic relationship at work, well, chances are you can find another job without the toxicity that still gives you the paycheck and security that you're looking for. Number 4, let go of your excuses. This might be one of the hardest ones, but let go of your excuses for staying and keeping this toxic relationship and keeping this person in your life. The nice thing about your life is that this is your story. So that means you have the ability to change the ending, to change the chapter, to change the page. You are writing this. So stop the excuses. There's no reason to hold on to this toxic relationship, even if it's the child, even if it's the parent to your children. I'll be honest, like staying in a toxic relationship because you had kids with somebody is the worst reason to stay in a relationship. That kid or kids are going to see what it's like to grow up in an unhealthy household, and that's going to be their level of expectation for a relationship. Do you really want your kids involved in a relationship like that? No. So cut out the excuses. Okay, number 5. You need to sit down and create a clear vision for your relationship. What is it that you want to see in your relationship? How do you want to feel? What do you want to feel? Maybe it's with this person, but maybe it's just in general. What are the things that you want for a relationship with somebody that you're in? Again, not just romantic, but how do you want to be treated? How should they react the way when you treat them a certain way? Set a vision for your relationship. Be clear. Number 6, finally, not finally, we still got a few more, but really at this point, you need to have the conversation with that person in a distraction-free zone, like no phones, no TV, no whatever, no kids or other coworkers around or whatever. Distraction-free, have the conversation with them. It's going to be hard. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you have that conversation with them, 1, you want to get to the point, just straight, clear. You don't have to be necessarily rude about it, but you do need to be clear and direct. Let's see here. Sorry, I can see that there's a comment, but for some reason, I cannot see it. Oh, there we go. That's weird. Oh, hey, Sylvia. Sorry, I just, for some reason, those weren't showing up. Well, you can always show him the video, I suppose. All right, so so get to the point, be clear, be direct, have the conversation with them. Like straight up call, you may not necessarily call them out, but tell them, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I have going on. This is what I'm feeling. Can I have an adult conversation with you about this? Focus on your feelings. This is going to be the really hard one. Focus on your feelings rather than all of the things they've done wrong, all of their wrongdoings. Because honestly, the instant you start going, well, you've done this and you've done that and you did this, they're going to shut off and they're going to go back into their normal toxic mode, reaction, whatever. And they're going to blow you off. It's going to be in one ear and out the other, and you've gotten nowhere. So focus on your feelings. Let's see. Finally, in this number 6, be firm and be clear for what you need, or the relationship is over. Like, it really is that cut and dry. I'm not saying it's easy, but really is that cut and dry. You need to tell them, this is what I need, and this is what I want. And if you can't do that, we are done. Even if they are family. I've had to cut family out. Gary's really good at cutting family out. He does not tolerate any kind of drama or any kind of crap. But even if it's family, cut that shit out. Just because someone is born into your family, just because they're related to you by blood, doesn't mean they earned your love and respect if they have not earned your love and respect. It is going to be hard, especially if you have expectations for how a family member should be treating you, or how you should treat them, or how you should treat each other. Unfortunately, life is not always that fucking Disney. It just isn't that way. So if they can't do these things, then you have to just say, then this relationship is over. Now, down the road, if you want to maybe try this again and you've decided that this is something that you also want in your life, we can revisit it. But for now, peace out. Sorry. Okay, number 7. So after you've had this conversation, and if it got to the point where you had to end it, it is okay to grieve and mourn the loss of this relationship. Because it was significant for one reason or another, even if it was a colleague, especially if it was a family member, and even if it was a significant other. It was significant for a reason. So it is completely okay to mourn the loss of that relationship. It's a chapter closing. It's completely natural to want to grieve that, even if it wasn't something that was right for you. Number 8, take some time to reflect. because experience is not the greatest teacher. The reflection on the experience is the greatest teacher. So reflect and write down the lessons that you have learned through the whole process, all of the good, the bad, the conversation, how it felt for you to express and verbalize these things, how it felt to lose the relationship, all of these different things. Write down all the lessons that you have learned from the whole experience. And this will teach you about what to do next time, about what to say, what to avoid, how to set your standards clearly from the beginning, to notice signs before you get in too deep to a relationship. Number 9, this is going to be key. And actually, my therapist has even said this, like, don't isolate yourself. Fill the void with positive people and positive experiences and activities. So get the people around you that do love and support you, and get them around you. It could be church, it could be friends, it could be other family members, it could be your immediate family, whoever it is, get them around you. That's your support system. Fill the void with positivity. Do not isolate yourself. Okay, and then this is the last one I've got for you. Number 10, indulge in self-love. You have spent, however long this relationship was, you have spent far too much time probably catering to their needs. Again, it's that all take and no give. Now it's time to give yourself some love and attention, some TLC. You know, even in positive and healthy relationships, some of us are terrible at self-care. Me too, right here. You know, like, one of the things I've been working on with my own therapist is to find myself. You know, it's so easy for us to, and I'll say this, especially even for women, it's so easy for us to get lost in relationships, in spouses, in kids, in work, in all these other things going on all around us, and we forget about ourselves. I don't even have kids, and I'm still guilty of that. So indulge in some self-love, some self-care, whatever that means, whatever that looks like for you. If it's sending the kids to the grandparents and you just take a weekend out of town by yourself, or with girlfriends, or with guy friends, or whatever it is, just spend some time to really take care of yourself. And that will kind of help you to move on and become stronger through the process. Ultimately, that's what's going to happen, is as you go through this very hard process, and it is, you will become stronger throughout that process at the end of that. Remember, steel and iron is forged in fire. So that means, you know, and the same thing, like I think there's another saying, you know, a river doesn't cut through rock because it's so powerful. It's because it's consistent. So as long as you keep at it, you know, your own self-care, you know, you just remember that by surviving through this hellish time, maybe, you know, again, you are that steel that's being forged in fire. Don't forget that. So I hope that this was helpful. And I hope that you can take some encouragement from it. Because again, you know, a part of being a healthy person is having healthy relationships, not just working out every day and eating healthy. Like, there's a whole lot that goes into health and wellness is what we're talking about here. So I hope this helps. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, feel free to post them. If it's something more private, feel free to message me. And I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to help, provide whatever guidance or support I can. I'm not a mental health professional. I will just put that out there now. So everything that you are hearing is from my own research experience, my own therapy sessions, marriage counseling sessions, even some of the stuff that Gary shares from his therapy. So this is all based on experience. I'm not an expert, but I've lived. I'm still living. So I hope that you will go out there and take care of you and do what you need to do to improve and live the best life that you can live, because we all deserve that. So have a great night. I will talk to you all soon. I appreciate you watching. And yeah, thanks again. Bye.